the worst video of the week, where we have to talk about all the injuries that we are dealing with, which seems like it's growing by the day. But let's go ahead and let's get into all the updates that we have. And you better believe, hook 'em horns, big day for us here. But anyway, starting off with Brian Robinson Jr., report is saying that he is going to be a game time decision for week 6. So, I mean, if you're looking at his availability, I would assume that he is playing, right? I mean, this is a situation in which he didn't practice all week, but at the same time, he didn't practice all last week either, and he was technically a game time decision, but he did end up playing. So personally, if I had Brian Robinson, I would still be planning on rolling with him. I would still be looking to jam him in. Obviously, if he does miss, then at that point, Austin Ekeler does become a lot more appealing, but it's not like Ekeler becomes a top 12 running back, because what we have seen is Jeremy McNichols will have a role as well. To go through and look at where we have these guys in our rankings this week, obviously this is over on flockfantasy.com. Currently, we have Brian Robinson, RB17. We'll talk about Bucky Irving in just one second. And we have Austin Ekeler down here at RB31. I think because this injury has lingered quite some time for Brian Robinson and he is that game time decision, I would probably rather start Ekeler over Javonte Williams. Like personally in the Flock League, I have both these running backs. I'm probably going to go Ekeler over Javonte because the Brian Robinson injury is lingering just a bit. Now, Zach Moss is going to be playing in week 6. So at this point, you definitely move Zach Moss up. You move Chase Brown down a bit. I have Zach Moss as a solid RB2 option, just knowing that this should be a very effective Cincinnati Bengals offense, where they are also favored by like 5 points over the Giants. Very rarely you're going to see the Bengals favored by 5 points because of how bad their defense is. But they should be able to run the ball in the second half. Zach Moss had 75% of the snaps in Cincinnati before going down with the injury in last game, which really did prompted Chase Brown to have that work. So Brown, he's more so looking like a potential flex play, where I think Zach Moss is somebody that you're going to have to go through and start. Now, going over to our next guy, Deontay Johnson, listed as questionable. We've been seeing this with Deontay Johnson for quite some time, that he's not really practicing much. He's not cleared good to go until the weekends. Still expecting that Deontay will play. Currently, we have Deontay Johnson ranked at wide receiver 11 in our rankings this week. With this injury lingering a little bit longer, I think you could make an argument to move Deontay Johnson behind Chris Godwin. Now, obviously, here with DK Metcalf, I know he already played. I know he was not close to being the wide receiver 13, but I'm not going to update the rankings on the site to go, oh, yeah, we know the Thursday night guy was a bump, so let's move him down now. We're leaving the Thursday night guys where they were initially. Now, Xavier Legette not listed on the injury report either for week 6. So with Legette, it is a decent spot to go ahead and get him in if you're absolutely desperate. Right now, we have him right in the same range as like Rome Odunze, Rashid Shaheed, Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman. You do have sportsbooks saying that this should be a pretty big bounce back game for this Carolina Panthers offense. Legette did have a considerable amount of target volume. I wonder if Underdog has a pick 'em out with Legette right now. They have Legette higher, lower, 41.5 receiving yards. So definitely not somebody that you feel like you need to get in your lineup. Khalil Shakir, James Cook, both don't practice on Friday. We actually have an update with James Cook that's more recent we'll get to. Jalen Warren listed questionable. We have a more recent update with Jalen Warren we'll get to soon. Don't care about Russell Wilson. Jonathan Taylor ruled out week 6. Not only is Taylor ruled out week 6, but at the same time, Trey Sermon is fully good to go. So I think you can look at Sermon as a viable flex play for sure, especially if you had an injury to somebody like Jonathan Taylor. Now, the issue is, it sounds like Anthony Richardson is going to be the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. So looking at this, most likely you will be sitting with fewer targets for Trey Sermon than what you had last week. Not only will you have fewer targets, but additionally to that, Anthony Richardson will be a threat to steal a rushing touchdown there at the goal line, which you don't really have to be concerned about with Joe Flacco. So I don't think Sermon is somebody that you have to start despite the workload being pretty good last week. I definitely think you can start him if you wanted. But of course, I will say this, if you're watching this as a video later on, or even if you're watching this in the live stream and you want to refresh after the stream's over, go to the comment section. And if you have any start set questions, please drop them. To be honest with you, I'm not going to be able to get to all your start set questions in the comment section. It's just not reasonable anymore. But if y'all could help each other out in the comment section, we have a massive community here. I think that would be really cool. Now, going over to what we have with blah, 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 I can skip past this. Nick Chubb ruled out week 6. Does this mean Jerome Ford's an absolute must-start name? Not really. Low-end RB2, high-end RB3, flex consideration play. The usage with Jerome Ford dipped this past week. You do have the target volume out of the backfield that is somewhat interesting. The issue is this is just an absolute garbage offense. Now, Devonta Smith clears concussion protocol. He will be good to go. Will Levis will start. And actually looking at the implied team total that you have over there for this Titans offense, this is one thing that I would highly recommend everybody going through and checking out. I wish we had this on flockfantasy.com. I promise you we're investing everything we have into flockfantasy.com. So we will have implied team totals on the site very, very soon. But it's just extremely useful in trying to figure out what offenses we want to be playing, what offenses you want to be avoiding. And typically the Tennessee Titans project out to be one of the lowest scoring offenses in the NFL weekly. But this week, sportsbooks are putting the Tennessee Titans with an implied team total that's about the same as the Seahawks was, the Washington Commanders, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, they're supposed to score more points than the Texans, more points than the Bills, more points than the Cardinals, more points than the Panthers, Chargers. Like, the Titans are supposed to be a pretty big, they're pretty exciting offense this week. That's why if you go over to the rankings on the site, I'm pretty high on Tony Pollard. We have Tony Pollard at RB 14 in our rankings this week. Calvin Ridley, I'm not as excited about. Calvin Ridley, you haven't seen consistent target volume. We do have him like here back-to-back with Jalen Tolbert. Looking at the projections that you have with Tolbert on Underdog Fantasy, he is currently, apparently I can't spell Tolbert. Dear God, I'm embarrassing myself here. But he is currently higher, lower, 44.5 receiving yards. Obviously, good matchup that you have against the Detroit Lions. It's hard to go all in and say he's a must-start player when this past week was like the first week that you actually had decent volume for him. Now, of course, with that being said, it was no Brandon Cooks, so I think Tolbert's going to be fine. But like Ridley, Tolbert, Ladd, like this is the range I would consider Calvin Ridley in with Will Levis good to go. But let's move this back over, and I apparently forgot how to live stream. Let's go over and look at the Jags guys. Evan Ingram, Gabe Davis, we still don't know yet. If Evan Ingram does play, I think you can look at him. But going back to what you had with this Jags offense, right now they are projected to be a middle-of-the-road offense this week with 21.5 points. Not super interested in a London game where you have to go up against a good Bears defense. Gesicki, don't care about. I mean, streaming tight end that you probably shouldn't be looking at. Devin Singletary listed as questionable. So if Singletary's good to go, you can go ahead and cut Tyrone Tracy. Obviously, Tracy really only a play if you were to have no Devin Singletary here. AJ Brown, good to go. I mean, and speaking of the Philly guys, there's absolutely no hesitation with them whatsoever. Please play him if you got him. We have AJ Brown, wide receiver 4 in the rankings this week. Devonta Smith, wide receiver 14. I'm starting Smith in the Flock League. Looking at the projections that you have on Underdog Fantasy, right now your higher, lower 71.5 total yards for AJ Brown. You actually have a big multiplier for a touchdown, which is surprising. And also with Devonta Smith, your higher, lower 58.5 receiving yards, really exciting. But I will say, actually, you know what? We are going to be watching this Texas game, of course. We are about to go have some fun with this. So to have a little more fun, let's just freaking throw it on here. Let's say yours higher than 258.5 passing yards. Isaiah Bond, we're going to go higher than 66.5 receiving yards. And let's look to go with a lower than on OU. OU sucks. I'm sure everybody knows this. Hookamorans, we're going to be going with lower than 58.5 total yards with Javonte Barnes. And if you are on Underdog, make sure you're always looking for the profit boost tokens. They've been dropping a ridiculous amount of these because it is October. So we'll put the 30% profit boost on it. We'll go ahead and we'll throw, say, I don't know. Let's go maybe 20. What's going to get us excited? I want to be able to win at least 200. What do we need for that? We'll go 36 to win 205. This is just, hey, Hookamorans, we're here to support our team, have a little bit of fun. And of course, if y'all wanted to check out any of these Underdog picks ever, you can always find that link in the live chat, link in the description. Promo code FLOCK, you get hooked up with a 50% deposit bonus. Plus code FLOCK, you'll actually be getting a free Joe Burrow pick, more than less than half a total yard for the games on Sunday. I'm sure most people here would care about NFL picks over college football picks. And also, you get a free team review in the live stream that we're doing every single night through flockfantasy.com. So make sure you take advantage of that with a link in the comment section or the link in the live chat. But hook 'em horns, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's go over to what we have with our next situation. Rachaad White is actually leaning towards doubtful. So Rachaad White most likely not playing here. It makes Bucky Irving just an absolute must-start name. I mean, Bucky Irving, right now, you look at the projections, he's sky high. He's going to have a usage as a receiver as well. Where Bucky is, higher, lower, 85.5 total yards. This is a player that you just absolutely have to start. Please get him in if you have him. Now, Romeo Doubs is going to be playing week 6. Don't play Doubs, but this does move down Dontavian Wicks. Joe Mixon expected good to go in week 6 as well. So personally, I am Mixon as just an absolute must-start name. We have Mixon at RB11 in a matchup against the Patriots, where presumably the Texans should be able to run the ball a decent amount in the second half. We will have to monitor what we have with Myers and Zamir White. To my knowledge, I don't think we have any confirmation with them. Jordan Mason, day-to-day, sounds like he will be good. CMC not going to get activated for the IR. Ramondre Stevenson is ruled out in week 6. So this does make Antonio Gibson pretty exciting here, where we moved Gibson up to being RB27 in the rankings this week. Good news, bad news. Good news, you have the usage as a receiver. You have the size to be a 3-down running back if the coaching staff's willing to let you have that job. Bad news is it's a horrible offense, and we don't necessarily think that Gibson is some top level back. Like if you go over and if you look at my team in the Flock League, which your boy is pacing to be 4-2, would be 5-1 if it wasn't for the freaking Pat Frymuth fumble. But in the fumble, the man lateraled it. Are you kidding me? But anyway, looking at this, I did move Antonio Gibson into one of our flex spots this week. I'm planning on playing him over Javonte Williams and Ladd McConkey myself. We had just picked him up off the waiver wire with the news that Ramondre Stevenson was going to be ruled out. Anthony Richardson tracking to play week 6. And Michael Pittman Jr. may play as well. So with that in mind, Josh Downs is not somebody that you need to start. You can definitely look at him, but I mean, obviously, receiver that over the past 2 weeks is averaging 20 points per game. Like, honestly, at this point, with Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs possibly playing, Michael Pittman and Anthony Richardson possibly playing, like, I would probably prefer Olave, Ridley, and Tolbert. And I'll move Downs ahead of Wicks just because if you have both Doubs as well as Watson. But I would probably prefer like the Olave Ridley range of players over Josh Downs, even if Downs has been dominant. Just because if you have A-Rich coming in, the overall volume in this offense is going to go down. They're going to play slower. They're not going to throw the ball as much. And like we said, Michael Pittman Jr. may end up playing here. Rashad Bateman not listed on the injury report. Don't care. Don't care about Russ. Don't care about Dameon Pierce. Don't care about Noah Brown. Taysom Hill will be out. Obviously, you're still starting Kamara regardless. Yeah, Michael Pittman Jr. has decided to try to play. Colts considered placing him on IR. So the last thing I would do is consider starting Pittman. I mean, obviously, we initially thought he was going to be out, so we had him at the very bottom of the rankings. Now, I guess we do have to rank the man somewhere. I probably would put him behind Josh Downs if he's not 100% healthy. But also, it's an offense that's not going to have really any passing volume either. So I think Pittman's like a wide receiver 4 in a way that you really just can't trust here with A-Rich and Downs and Pittman banged up. Michael Mayer, don't care. Gus Edwards being ruled out does make it where J.K. Dobbins is definitely an appealing play. We have Dobbins up at RB20 this week. The issue is going back to what you had previously with the Chargers offense. It should project out to be one of the lower scoring offenses in the NFL if you are looking at implied team totals. So not super excited to play Dobbins. You can if you really need to. Josh Reynolds ruled out. Don't care. Estime listed to be questionable. If Estime does play, I think you can use it as a tiebreaker where in that instance, like I'm deciding maybe between Eckler and Javonte Williams. Maybe we use it in a tiebreaker and we decide to pivot over to Javonte for this reason because you don't know how Estime is going to get used. Devontae Adams listed as out. We still don't know with Myers and White. Jalen Warren no longer listed on the injury report. So this is a big update that we have to make. With Jalen Warren playing this week, presumably, Najee is going to be plummeting down these rankings. Like, I would probably put Najee Harris in the same range as what you have with somebody like Antonio Gibson. while it's a good matchup going up against the Raiders, Najee has been one of the least efficient running backs in the entire NFL so far this season. He's just looked horrendous, but he's kind of been giving you a decent floor based off of raw volume and opportunity. But if you have Jalen Warren good to go, Najee Harris is just way less exciting, so I'd be moving him down to RB26. And as a quick side note, of course, I'm sure y'all already know this, but if you ever wanted to go through and check out rankings from a weekly perspective or a rest of season perspective, go over to flockfantasy.com. The link's in the description, and also, of course, you can just type in flockfantasy.com. But if you're wanting my rankings, like you can see that these are the average rankings of all the experts on the site. These are all the experts on the site. If you just want mine, click Mason Dodd, and then it'll go ahead, sort by mine. You can go ahead and you can look at, oh, okay, I just want to see Mason's week 6 ranks. You can look at that by position. But yeah, also there are a bunch of free things. One thing that we recently actually improved upon is obviously we have the power rankings linking for completely free, where if you play in a sleeper, ESPN, or a Yahoo league, go over and link your league with flockfantasy.com for free. And you can see updated power rankings and see how each team in your league stacks up based off their positional ranking. And at the same time, you'll actually get a list of the best waiver wire options for you as well. We have the free trade finder, where if you wanted to say, oh, I'm so tired of Ramondre Stevenson, what is Ramondre Stevenson getting traded for? You can go to Ramondre Stevenson, say, okay, I only want to look at Stevenson in one quarterback, full PPR leagues that have 12 teams, because this is the league settings that I play with. And then you can go see all these real Ramondre Stevenson trades with your exact league settings that have happened today and yesterday, but all on flockfantasy.com for you for free. But let me go back to my create rankings, because I need to make sure that we are getting these ready for y'all. But moving this over, our next thing is James Cook expects to be playing on Monday. So with James Cook good to go, I would go ahead and personally myself, I'm going to be moving him down to being that low-end RB2, high-end RB3. The reason being is he hasn't practiced really all week. It's very difficult to go through and say, like, okay, we know what to expect with Cook. It's a Monday night game, so the last thing I want you to do is plan on going through and starting James Cook over Bucky Irving, and then all of a sudden James Cook doesn't end up playing. And then obviously Ray Davis moves down because of this. We have Ray Davis down here at about RB34. I think maybe you can expect a slightly larger role for Ray Davis with the James Cook injury, but at the same time, Ty Johnson is getting involved as well. So really, I would avoid the Buffalo running backs if we can, but I know if you have James Cook, there's a shot that you possibly can't. Now, going over to what we have with Roman Wilson. Roman Wilson is a wide receiver that I drafted in a decent amount of underdog drafts this year in round 18. Like the week before the season, I thought his price point there was very appealing. He's done literally nothing. He hasn't even played. There's no reason you would go ahead and pick him up. There's not enough passing volume in Pittsburgh to get interested about him. But really the only thing I'm excited about seeing here is, okay, can we get a random spot for my underdog teams? And I guess as we were live streaming here, we got the report with Evan Ingram that he plans on playing in week 6. So that's how we had our ranking sets, where we did have Evan Ingram as tight end 11. Definitely not somebody that you have to start. Like, honestly, I'd probably prefer Freiermuth over him, just because with Freiermuth, you kind of have the guarantee here, where Ingram's more so a projection. But very close. I think definitely a player that you look to roster at the very minimum and see what the workload looks like, see if he can be better than what he was in week 1. But let's go ahead and let's update these rankings for everyone. But yeah, of course, if y'all ever wanted to go through and check out these rankings on the site, like I said, the average of all the experts are free for you if you wanted to see the expert average. If you wanted to see my rankings in particular, those would be behind a paywall. But I will be live streaming and I will be answering all your questions tonight, of course. And if you want to get in a question for tonight's stream, or at literally any point, all you have to do is go over to flockfantasy.com, hit the button in the top right corner that says expert advice. Here you can get a team review, trade question, start set question, whatever you are wanting. We're actually about to launch a super message as well. But if you did want that team review, I would highly recommend taking advantage of the promo that we have on Underdog Fantasy, just because it's going to be so much cheaper for y'all and it's going to be a much better value. Where if you go over to Underdog Fantasy and use promo code FLOCK, you will get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. Plus, on top of that, you're going to be getting the free Joe Burrow pick, more than less than half a total yard for the game on Sunday. And you'll be getting a free team review in the live stream that we're doing every single night. So you can find that link in the live chat, comment section, and description. But I think that should be it. Obviously, if we have any more injury updates, I'll keep you posted in the stream tonight. And please, as we end this, go to the comment section. And if you have any start-sit questions, drop them there. And please help out somebody else in the community by responding to some of the comments down there with your opinions. Because obviously, while I stream for 5 hours every single day trying to answer as many questions as I possibly can, I know I'm not able to get to 100% of them. So if we could all help each other out, I think that'd be phenomenal. But thank you again. I really do appreciate y'all. And I really hope we get to see you out in the live stream later tonight.